Hello, my name is Mina. Welcome to my channel, Mina Reads. Today we're going to be doing a book haul, and I'm going to be hauling and showing you all of the books that I have received since June of 2022 because I have not done a book haul since then. I will leave that book haul linked in the description below if you're interested, but yeah, I haven't done one since then, and so we're just going to do one great big haul. It's a lot. So first, for Christmas, I bought myself Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. Like the second generation of the Red Rising series, which I absolutely loved. I read that in 2021 and I had a really great time with it. I thought the characters were just such fascinating people. It was really complex and interesting. I loved the world, and I really think that the way that people pitch Red Rising is very interesting because for the longest time people said that it's kind of like an adult version of the Hunger Games, and I would definitely say that the first book has those vibes, and it's basically like if the capital citizens sent their children to the Hunger Games. The first book does have that kind of like Hunger Games-y vibe, but the rest of the series is very high stakes, space opera, like battle fantasy type of story. Very grim, dark, very violent, very bloody, gruesome, rebellion type of story, but I very much enjoyed it and I want to get into the like second era, so I bought this for myself. And I was also kindly gifted by someone on Twitter. Their user is Becca D Reads. Becca got me Dark Age, so thank you so much, Becca, for that. So hopefully I'll be getting into these books pretty soon, and yeah, I'm so excited to have them both now. And then continuing on with fantasy, I bought myself The Hanged King by K.D. Edwards. This is the second book in the Tarot Sequence series. The first book is called The Last Sun, and this is about a world that it's kind of complex to describe. So essentially, this is about a fantasy world that is based on the lost city of Atlantis. So it's like, what if the lost city of Atlantis wasn't lost and they just relocated it to the island of Nantucket? And on the island of Nantucket, they have this like sovereign magical nation, and this magical nation is run by something called the Arcana, and the Arcana are based on, like, you know, the tarot deck Arcana. Our main character, he is the Sun Arcana, which is kind of like a fallen house, and he's trying to restore their name, and he does like work for other more powerful Arcana in the community, kind of. And in the first book, he gets embroiled in some political mess that he had no intention of being a part of, but now he is. And so the series is about him and his allies and his new like found family navigating all of this like political turmoil. I'm excited to dig back into this series because the first book was very, very intriguing. Then I bought Before the Coffee Gets Cold, this hyped translated fiction. It's like speculative fiction about a magical coffee shop where you can go backward and forward in time, and it's about various characters and what they choose to do with that time that they are granted. Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco, and this is an incredible fantasy. It's a vampire fantasy. Is kind of inspired by Castlevania. If you guys are fans of the game or the Netflix show, you should definitely pick this up. This is about a character named Remy Pendergast. So Remy, he's the son of a duke. He's also a vampire hunter, and this is about his society, which is sort of plagued by vampires because their nation is sort of bracketed by various vampire nations. But there is a new political alliance forming between the vampires in a certain court and Remy's government, and they have decided to ally together to fight this outside threat, which is this mutated kind of vampires that cannot be killed. And so they are hunting down this magical vampire curse thing, and Remy, he is doing all of this investigating and hunting down with some other vampires. So he meets this woman who is an heiress named Jaldan, and Jaldan's fiance named Zidan Malik, and this is about Remy falling in love with that couple and also doing all of the vampire hunter things. It's very action-packed, it's very interesting, it's very fun, very inventive. I had a really great time reading this. I highly recommend everybody check it out. And then I also bought myself this. It's called The King of Infinite Space, and this is sort of a Hamlet retelling. It's by Lindsay Faye, and this was recommended to me by one of my mutuals on Tumblr, so I just kind of picked it up on a whim. And yeah, like, do I know that much about it? No, I don't really. But the inside flap says, in this lush, magical, queer, and feminist take on Hamlet, in modern-day New York, a neurotypical philosopher is caught up in otherworldly events surrounding the death of his father. I love it. I got these two from my local thrift store for $1 for both of them, I think, because they were selling them for like 50 cents. Incredible. So I got Clara and the Sun. Yes, Clara and the Sun by Kazu Ishiguro, and this is a sci-fi novel about an AI. I'm pretty sure the main character is an AI. Do I know what happens, what the plot line is, what the story is? No idea. But I am going to read it hopefully soon, and it's a relatively short book, and I love a good short book, so yeah. But I had to get this, like 50 cents for this, and it's an incredibly hyped read. I couldn't help myself from picking it up. And then I also got Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, and this is about this girl who reunites with one of her childhood friends. The childhood friend is like raising two twins by herself, and these twins have magical powers. They have like pyrokinetic powers, and so they spontaneously combust sometimes, and she is very desperately in need of childcare. So this is about her reconnecting with that friend and helping that friend take care of her kids. At least that's what the synopsis kind of gives me. And yeah, I haven't heard too much about this. I'm not big in like the literary fiction space, so I don't know what the general consensus is on this novel, but it sounded very interesting, so I decided to pick it up. Some more picks that I got at my local thrift store. I got The 30 Names of Night by Zain Jukhar, I think. Yeah, Jukhar. This book is a multi-generational novel about Syrian Americans, and from what I understand, it's about this character who finds the journal of some woman. The journal was written about 60 years ago, and in reading it, he discovers a lot about like his family, his community, his history, and also about like the queer history of Syrians in Syria, or Syrian Americans. I'm not 100% sure like where most of the book is based, but yeah, like he discovers all of these kind of untold histories, and it just sounds really interesting. And this author was really popular a few years ago for another book called The Map of Salt and Stars. So when I saw this in the thrift store, I had to pick it up, and hopefully it's really good. Then I got The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This is a sort of speculative, strange story about a character who decides to become a vegetarian and the consequences that it has in her marriage and with her parents-in-law, the way that they treat her, the way that they feel about her. And there's also kind of some strange sci-fi sort of horror elements where there's like some body horror stuff going on. All right, and my last thrift store buy was Three Women by Lisa Taddeo, and this book is a nonfiction about three women and their sex lives. At least that's what the synopsis tells you. For the tagline to say, "Desire as we've never seen it before, a riveting true story about the sex lives of three real American women based on nearly a decade of reporting." And the way that the story is told, it didn't necessarily scream like sex lives, because the one character, she was like taken advantage of by her teacher. Another character was like assaulted at a party, and I'm sure, you know, I'm sure things evolve from there, but I just feel like the way that this book was starting out did not give me what I thought it was going to give. But let me know if you read this and if you think I should kind of continue on with it, because I was definitely looking for a nonfiction. I was looking for an essay. I was looking for some reporting and some analysis and some conclusions drawn by the author, but this is more so narrative about these characters or these women's lives. And while I do think their lives are, I'm sure, very interesting and do progress from here, I just felt like that wasn't what I went into the book looking for. So let me know if you think that it's still like worth finishing, even though it's not exactly what I had initially anticipated. Let me know. All right, so moving on from that very serious book, I bought myself Games with the Orc by Catherine Moon because I really like this cover. Is it just me? Like, I don't know. I like it. I love monster romance covers. I can't help it. They're just so fun and so cute and so sexy. So I bought this for myself, and I started reading this. I didn't finish it because I wasn't in the right mood for it, but I am planning to go back to it soon. And also in January, I bought I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, and this is a memoir about this woman's experience with therapy. All right, I bought myself The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. This is a retelling of The Island of Dr. Moreau. I have to say, I wasn't a huge fan of this. I have a vlog where I talk about it more in depth, but I think that this is one of those books that maybe you will enjoy it more if you have experienced the text that it's based on. But since I've never read The Island of Dr. Moreau, I really felt like I was missing something. It was just something there that was like lacking for me. It has Silvia Moreno Garcia's you know, typical atmospheric writing and like slightly interesting characters, but it just wasn't enough for me. So it wasn't my favorite Silvia Moreno Garcia, but I did buy this for myself and I did read it. Aren't you guys proud of me? I've actually read so many of these books that I'm hauling. Like, I'm pretty proud of myself. 2 monster romances I got myself: Inextricably Tied by Aveda Weiss and Yours Insatiably by Aveda Weiss. It's about like this girl that's a succubus, and she has this co-worker who's like a fae moth person kind of, and they end up hooking up even though they absolutely hate each other. And so yeah, this is like a friends with benefits type of vibe between them. And then Inextricably Tied is also a kind of co-workers romance book. It's about this girl named Harbinger. She's a banshee and she is like a private investigator. So she has this partner that's a gargoyle. His name's Flint, and they have a lot of chemistry, a lot of tension. They act on it, so they have like this, like, you know, hookup relationship going on, but they're also partners, and they work together and they travel the country doing like these supernatural investigations, sort of coming across a case involving this serial killer. And one of Harbinger's powers is that when she touches an item, she can like see the item's past, so this helps her with her investigative job. But she ends up touching something of the serial killers, and it ends up creating this psychic link between her and the serial killer's night terrors. So the night terror is like brought into corporeal form through his connection with her, and this is about all 3 of them. So Harbinger, Flint, and the night terror, his name's Agony. They are investigating the serial killer and trying to find where he has hidden his victims. It's a little bit involved. It's a it's more of a like romantic suspense story, because while they are like doing relationship stuff and falling in love, sort of, kind of, the main plot is them trying to figure out what's going on with this serial killer and what he's done to these women and where he's hiding them. So it's very interesting. It's actually one of the most interesting monster romances I've ever read. Like, it has a lot of thought put into like kind of the world building and the powers and everything like that, and I just loved it. It was very creative, very engaging. It's a really good time. So if you're a monster romance type person, I definitely recommend checking out Aveda Weiss. Alright, so the last thing that I purchased for myself was this box set of the Wraith King series. The Wraith King series is Radiance and Eidolon, and also the Ipsos King, all by Grace Draven. And this is a like fantasy romance, monster romance series, fantasy story. The first book is mainly Brescian and Ildiko's relationship journey, and the second book is more so plot driven. It's about like this supernatural infestation that happens and like the political turmoil that it causes. So yeah, I bought this box set for myself. I own the paperback copies, but I bought this box set for myself because it has like pretty art, and yeah, it's like very pretty. I haven't taken it out of the plastic yet. So the next 2 books that I'm going to show you, these were actually purchased for me around my birthday. Thank you to Deanna for purchasing these for me. The Goblin Emperor is like my new favorite fantasy book. Like, I'm very deeply obsessed with it. I just read it last week and I'm already kind of planning my reread. It's just so interesting, so densely layered as a fantasy, and I absolutely loved it so much. So I need to reread it and annotate it, and it was so good. So thank you, Deanna, for purchasing it for me. All right, then also for my birthday, I got Fresh Water by Akwaeke Emezi. Incredible book. You should definitely read it. This is a really like hard-hitting literary fiction about a character named Ada who hears voices, and the voices are very much steering her on the wrong path in life. And so this is kind of about self-destruction and mental health, and it's incredibly well written, and it's just so interesting. One of the most interesting narratives I have ever read, and I think that this is my favorite book by Akwaeke Emezi, and it was so good. So thank you to my friend Stephanie for purchasing this for me, also around my birthday. Then I got Tread of Angels by Rebecca Roanhorse. Got this in a Goodreads giveaway, and it's a Western inspired fantasy about this girl whose sister is being like wrongfully prosecuted, and so she's trying to exonerate her off of the claims against her. I don't know too much more about it than that, but I do know that Riley Marie has read this recently and she really enjoyed it, and me and Riley have pretty similar fantasy tastes, so I'm excited to check this one out. All right, quickly we're going to run through some of the visual media that I have received and purchased. Okay, so I bought myself volumes 1 and 2 of Fangs. About this guy named In. He's at a party and he ends up being attacked by vampires. So he's bitten, he's transformed into a vampire, and he is taken in by this organization called Fangs, which is a like vampire coalition that creates rules about feeding and vampire, just general vampire conduct. And to the vampire way of life, he is assigned to this agent named Ichi, and this is a story about En and Ichi living together and kind of becoming like a bonded vampire pair. And in this world, the vampires, they like bond together romantically and for sustenance reasons, so that they don't have to feed off of humans. And so it's like, you know, this, it's kind of a romance, but it also has some plot to it. It's very, very good. It's also very steamy and very graphic, but very good in many, many ways, and I enjoyed it a good deal. Then we've got Moriarty the Patriot, Volume 1. This is a Sherlock Holmes kind of retelling from the point of view of Moriarty, who is like the villain. So yeah, this is about him and his brothers going around and wreaking havoc on British aristocratic society. It's very, very cool. I like the manga, but I love the anime. The anime is incredible. So I definitely recommend both, either, whichever one you favor. It's a good time. And then we have Wash Day Diaries by Jamila Rouser and Robin Smith, and this is a graphic novel about this friend group, and it's just about like their relationships together and also their independent struggles. And it is I want to say that like the connective tissue of the story is that we see each of the characters in certain moments of their life that are centered around their hair. So like for one character, we see her in the aftermath of like a late night out and how she is planning to like get her hair done, how she wears her hair tied up so that people won't, you know, see her hair in a mess after she's had her late and wild night. We see characters bonding with their family members over doing their hair and things like that. So we get to know a lot about these characters and like their intimate lives and relations through their hair care, how they feel about their hair, etc, etc. But it's a very, very good like friendship story, and it also has very, very beautiful art, and it is fully colored illustration, so I would highly recommend checking it out. It's just okay. So then the publisher very kindly sent me A Fate of Wrath and Flame and A Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker, and this is a relatively popular fantasy romance series that I surprisingly know absolutely nothing about. But yeah, they sent these to me. I'm very pleased to have them. Do I know what they're about? No. But let me know if I should read them, if I should be prioritizing them on the TBR. I mean, obviously I'm going to read them eventually, but like, should they be prioritized? Did you like them? Did you read them? Let me know in the comments. So the next book that I have to show you was also sent to me by the publisher, and this is Old Enough by Haley Jacobson, and this is a like queer coming of age novel about this girl who's just started college, and the people that she meets, her journey with her studies, and also with romance. She meets this character, this other character named Wes, in her gender studies class, it says. And yeah, it's about like their blooming romance and also the growing pains of being a young adult entering college. It sounds really good, and I can't wait to check it out. Love a good like new adult coming of age type story. Really appreciate those, so I'm excited to check this out. Another book that was kindly gifted to me by the publisher was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. I read this book last week and I loved it so much. It's so good. This is about a pirate named Amina Al-Sarafi. She has retired from the piracy game. She just wants to raise her family, but she has fallen a little bit on hard times, and she does kind of miss the thrill of being a pirate captain. So when someone offers her the prize of a lifetime, she just has to take it. She goes on this quest to save the daughter of one of her former crewmates, and if she is successful in saving this girl, she will be granted like 1,000,000 dirham, I think, and it's like a huge windfall, so she can't really say no to this amount of money. And so this is about her grabbing her crew and setting back out onto the seven seas, so to say. And yeah, it's very action-packed. The fantasy, as the magical elements in this are really cool. They kind of have to fight against like this evil wizard. I really love like the magical creatures in this. I just thought that it was a really great fantasy. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something fun, light, and airy. I would definitely say that if you have read the David Bond trilogy, don't go into this book expecting the Daevabad trilogy. I think the Daevabad trilogy is a lot more intricately layered as a story, and it's, you know, very much more political, and I just think like the way that the story is very different than the way that this narrative is, and also the narration styles are very different. So I would say that try to very much separate the two in your mind. Don't go into this book immediately comparing it to the Daevabad trilogy, because I think you will be disappointed, because they are very different. But this is still very good in my opinion. I really recommend it. I have A Restless Truth by Freya Marske. This is the second book in, I'm not sure what this series is called. Okay, so this is the second book in the Last Bindings trilogy. The first book is called A Marvelous Light, and it's kind of like a cozy fantasy mystery series. That first book is about this guy who becomes like a new administrative worker in this like fantasy secret society that he had no idea existed. And this second book is about his sister, and she is solving this like magical mystery on a boat. That's pretty much all I know about it, but the writing style in the first book was so good, so fun, so cozy. I really enjoyed that book, so I can't wait to check this one out. And this one is sapphic, so very excited. And the first one is like a gay romance, so very good. We love to see it. Speaking of queer fantasy, I have Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk, and this is a very short novella, but is very worth checking out. This is about a character who is sort of a magical private detective, and she is working for this demon to solve a mystery for them, essentially. But it has angels, it has demons, it has Faustian bargains, it has sapphic relationships. It is so beautifully written, and I really enjoyed this so much. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. I don't want to tell you too much because I don't want to spoil it, because it is really short, but it packs a punch. I highly recommend it. It was so good. Okay, my camera is dying, and I absolutely refuse to have to charge it and then try to film this again later. So let's just be very quick about these last few books. All right, so we have The Sword Defiant by Gareth Rahan, and this is a swords and sorcery fantasy that was just gifted to me by Orbit Publishing. Thank you so much to them. This cover is so fucking iconic. Very obsessed. Can't wait to read it. Obviously I'm going to read them eventually, but like, should they be prioritized? Did you like them? Did you read them? Let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. Then we have Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This is Chloe Gong's adult debut, and I believe this is a sci-fi Antony and Cleopatra retelling. This book does involve like some magical death games where people can hop into other bodies, like transferring their consciousnesses, and their society has made it into some kind of like game. The main character in this is a princess. I don't know too much more about the plot than that. Y'all know that I like to be pretty vague on the details going into a book, but this seems like it'll be a really good time, and I can't wait to check out Chloe Gong's adult debut. So then I have The Bladed Faith and The Sapphire Altar, both by David Daglish, and they are book 1 and 2 in the Vagrant God series. And this is a series about a guy who he was in line for the throne. His throne gets usurped, and so he decides to take up the mantle of an assassin so that he can get his power, get his crown back. And it sounds like a fun kind of revenge tale. I love those, and this comes highly recommended by my besties. So yeah, I got both of them. Hopefully they'll be really good. I'm hoping to start them this year. We'll see, because I need a new fantasy series to dig my teeth into, and I would love it if it could be this one. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me a little shopping cart emoji for all of the book shopping that occurred to make this video possible. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you all in my next video. Bye you guys. Mwah.